It was the summer of 2014, and the air was thick with the promise of adventure as my family embarked on a road trip to Goose Creek, South Carolina. I was a wide-eyed 7-year-old, fueled by the excitement of the unknown that awaited us on this journey. Little did I know that this road trip would etch a harrowing memory into the fabric of my childhood. As we cruised along the highways, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the landscape. We pulled into a desolate gas station, a lone beacon of light in the darkening night. The flickering bulbs overhead added an eerie ambience to the quiet surroundings. My mother and I stepped out of our car, the gravel crunching beneath our shoes as we made our way towards the gas station's entrance. The air hung heavy with the scent of gasoline, a familiar aroma that usually signaled the start of a pit-stop adventure for treats and snacks. But this time, fate had something far more sinister in store. As we entered the dimly lit convenience store, the ding of the bell announced our arrival. Shelves lined with dusty snacks and aging magazines stood as silent witnesses to the strange encounter that awaited us. Behind the counter stood a man, his face partially hidden beneath the shadow of a worn-out baseball cap. "Evening, folks," he greeted us with a weary smile, his eyes glinting in the dim light. There was an unsettling intensity to his gaze, a feeling that sent a shiver down my spine. My mother, ever the friendly soul, exchanged pleasantries, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As my mother browsed the snack aisle, the stranger leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You know, little buddy, sometimes life takes unexpected turns," he said, his words dripping with a sinister undertone that only a child could perceive. I felt a knot tightening in my stomach, a primal instinct warning me of impending danger. Just as I was about to tug on my mother's sleeve and escape the uneasy encounter, the door swung open, announcing the arrival of another customer. The stranger straightened up, his unsettling gaze lingering on me for a moment longer before he turned his attention to the newcomer. Relief washed over me as my mother and I hastily made our exit, the bell above the door chiming our departure. The car door slammed shut, the engine roared to life, and we sped away from that gas station, leaving the unsettling encounter behind. Little did I know that the stranger's words would linger like a haunting melody in the recesses of my mind. 7 years have passed since that fateful night, but the memory of the gas station encounter refuses to fade. Gas stations, once places of excitement and delight, now cast a long, looming shadow over my travels. The specter of danger still lingers, a ghost that whispers of the thin line between safety and peril. As I recount this chilling tale, I offer a piece of advice to all who listen. Trust your instincts. Children possess an innate ability to sense danger, an intuition that often goes overlooked by adults. If something feels off, it probably is. The world is filled with unexpected turns, and sometimes it's the choices we make in those crucial moments that determine our fate. So, the next time you find yourself at a dimly lit gas station, remember this story. Trust the hair standing on the back of your neck, the unease in your gut. It might just save you from a brush with danger that lingers in the shadows, waiting for the unsuspecting to cross its path. I had always found solace in the quiet nights at the gas station. The soft hum of the fluorescent lights overhead, the distant hum of passing cars, and the rhythmic churning of the gas pumps. It was my haven. Little did I know that tranquility would be shattered one fateful night, plunging me into a nightmare I couldn't escape. It all began innocently enough. A disheveled man, his matted hair clinging to his forehead, shuffled into the station. He never said much, just a mumbled request for a cup of hot water. The first few times, I obliged, dismissing him as just another weary soul seeking warmth. But, as the nights wore on, the requests became more frequent, and his presence lingered long after he'd received his steaming cup. One evening he spoke, his voice a gravelly whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "You have a kind heart," he said, his eyes locking onto mine with a predatory intensity. I forced a polite smile, uneasy but unsure how to react. From that night on, the atmosphere shifted and a lingering sense of dread settled over the gas station. His visits became more erratic, and he started making comments that danced on the edge of madness. The once mundane routine of pumping gas and handling cash became a heart-pounding game of survival. I tried to brush off the discomfort, but each encounter left me more unnerved than the last. One stormy night, as rain pounded against the station's roof, he stood outside, soaked and staring. Fear gnawed at me as our eyes met through the streaked glass. I mustered the courage to confront him, but my words were lost in the tempest. He simply grinned, revealing a set of yellowed, rotting teeth. The certainty that I was being hunted took root in my mind, growing with each passing hour. Desperation led me to involve the police, but without tangible threats, they could do little to help. My only option was to endure, to carry on with my nightly routine, watching over my shoulder as the stalker lurked in the shadows. One night, in a desperate bid to escape, I left my job at the gas station and sought refuge in a new town, convinced I'd eluded him. I thought I could start anew, put the nightmare behind me. But the darkness followed and my illusion of safety crumbled. It was a regular evening in the unfamiliar gas station when I glimpsed him in the reflection of the security mirror. Panic set in as I realized he had tracked me down. My heart raced, the rhythmic thud echoing in my ears as I grappled with the harsh reality that there was no escape. In a raspy voice, he whispered, "You can't run forever." The familiarity of those words paralyzed me. As I fumbled for the phone to call the police, he vanished into the night, leaving only the haunting echo of his laughter. The nightmare had reached its zenith, and I knew I had to confront this terror head-on. Armed with newfound courage, I steeled myself for the inevitable encounter. But he never returned. Days turned into weeks, and the specter that haunted me faded into the recesses of memory. As I stand here, recounting the horrors that unfolded, the gas station now feels like a distant nightmare. The once familiar sights and sounds have lost their comfort. My advice to you, dear listener, is to trust your instincts. If something feels amiss, don't dismiss it as paranoia. Seek help, be vigilant, and don't underestimate the darkness that may lurk in the seemingly mundane corners of your life. For even in the quietest of nights, horrors beyond imagination may be stalking you, waiting to plunge you into a nightmare from which there is no escape. The engine's low hum was the only sound in the vast emptiness that surrounded us. My girlfriend, Sarah, and I were driving through the night on a deserted road, our laughter echoing within the confines of our small car. The GPS claimed there was a shortcut to avoid the traffic, guiding us through desolate stretches of land and dark, winding roads. As we ventured further into the unknown, the comforting glow of city lights disappeared, leaving us with only the dim headlights to pierce the impenetrable darkness. The air inside the car grew heavy, and an unsettling silence settled between us. "We should have taken the main road," Sarah mumbled, her eyes nervously scanning the impenetrable shadows beyond the headlights. "Just a little farther," I reassured her, my grip tightening on the steering wheel. The road seemed endless, stretching into the obsidian void, devoid of any signs of life. A faint yellow sign emerged, barely visible in the distance. "Gas, 10 miles ahead," it proclaimed. Relief washed over us, and we followed the sign, hopeful for a respite from the eerie solitude. As we approached the gas station, a foreboding sensation crept over me. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows that danced on the cracked pavement. We pulled up to the pump, the air heavy with the scent of gasoline. An unsettling chill ran down my spine. I got out to fill the tank, the cold wind sending shivers down my spine. Sarah stayed in the car, her eyes fixed on the desolation surrounding us. As I replaced the gas cap, I noticed an unsettling detail. The cap had been missing for miles. A strange unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Entering the dimly lit convenience store, a sense of foreboding intensified. The cashier, an elderly man with vacant eyes, stared blankly at us as we grabbed some snacks. The only other customer, a disheveled figure in the corner, seemed to be watching us with an unnatural interest. I dismissed it as paranoia, attributing it to the isolated road and the late hour. Back on the road, the unease lingered. The dim glow of the gas station faded in the rearview mirror, but an unsettling feeling clung to the car like a phantom passenger. My eyes constantly darted to the side mirrors, half expecting to see a pair of headlights following us. As we drove deeper into the night, the sense of isolation amplified. A white car appeared in the distance, its headlights growing brighter with each passing second. It tailgated us, weaving dangerously close to our bumper. Panic set in as the mysterious driver refused to pass or fall back. Desperation gnawed at me as I took a sharp turn down an even darker road, hoping to shake off our pursuer. The white car followed, its relentless pursuit sending our hearts pounding. The once familiar road became a labyrinth of fear. Suddenly, the headlights behind us vanished. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, but the relief was short-lived. The road ahead seemed to stretch endlessly into the abyss, devoid of any familiar landmarks. We were lost. As panic set in, a voice crackled over the car radio, sending chills down our spines. "You can't escape," it whispered ominously, freezing the blood in our veins. The radio flickered and returned to its normal broadcast, leaving us in bewildered silence. Exhausted and disoriented, we finally stumbled upon a small gas station, the neon sign flickering in the distance like a beacon of salvation. As I filled the tank, the eerie silence was broken by the sound of a familiar engine. The white car pulled in, and the stranger stepped out, his face hidden in the shadows. With a chilling smile, he whispered, "You can't escape." We sped away, leaving the gas station and the mysterious stranger behind. The road seemed to stretch endlessly, the darkness enveloping us. As we reached the main road, the first light of dawn broke, revealing a deserted landscape. In the safety of the morning light, I reflected on the night's horrors. The advice I offer to anyone who ventures on those deserted roads: trust your instincts, stay on the main roads, and never underestimate the darkness that lurks in the night. And remember, sometimes the road less traveled leads to unspeakable terrors that can haunt you forever.